Adora sat in the courtroom, her hands resting quietly on her lap. The air was cold, heavy, filled with whispers and the sound of papers shuffling. Across from her, Tund leaned back in his chair with a smug smile. That same confident, arrogant look he always had when he thought he had already won. The judge looked over the documents one last time before nodding for them to sign. Tund picked up the pen first. He didn't hesitate for even a second. With a smirk, he signed his name on the divorce papers as if it were a business deal. One more victory for him. Then he turned slightly toward Adora and whispered, just loud enough for her to hear, "Good luck paying rent without me." He chuckled softly, his words sharp enough to cut through her calm. Adora didn't respond. Her face stayed still, no tears, no anger. But inside, her heart was burning. Every lie, every late-night excuse, every cruel word played in her mind like an old film she couldn't turn off. She could still see the nights she waited up for him, the messages she pretended not to see, the way he made her feel small in her own home. Now it had come to this. Two strangers sitting in a courtroom, signing away the life they once promised to build together. The judge cleared her throat and began to read out the terms of the settlement. The room went silent. Every word felt heavy. Tund leaned back again, sure that the outcome would favor him. He had always believed he was the smarter one, the provider, the man in control. Adora's eyes stayed on the table in front of her, her fingers tracing the edge of a paper. To everyone else, she looked calm. But her thoughts were racing. She wasn't thinking about losing him. She was thinking about how far she had come to reach this moment. The pain, the fear, the quiet strength she had learned to hide behind her silence. The judge's voice grew louder, the final moments of their marriage hanging in the air. But before the final words left the judge's lips, before anyone in the room knew what was truly written in those papers, something shifted. The sound of the courtroom began to fade. The image of Tund's smirk blurred. Adora's mind drifted back, far from the courtroom, far from the smell of ink and paper, back to the beginning, back to the time when she first met him. Before the arrogance, before the betrayal, before the silence became her only shield. The story of how she got here, to this courtroom, to this quiet victory waiting to unfold, was about to begin. She meets Tund at a friend's birthday dinner. He is charming, confident, and full of plans for the future. He talks about success, ambition, and how he wants to build a life bigger than anything his parents ever had. Adora listens, impressed by his energy and drive. She has always been focused too, smart, hardworking, with dreams of starting her own business one day. But there is something about Tund's boldness that draws her in. He makes her laugh. He makes her feel seen. Their love grows fast. He sends flowers to her office. He calls her every night just to hear her voice. They spend long evenings talking about the future, where they'll live, how many kids they'll have, the places they'll travel to. When he tells her he wants to marry her, she believes she has found her forever. In the beginning, marriage feels like a dream. Their small apartment is filled with laughter and late-night dancing in the kitchen. Adora starts a small tech startup from home, and Tund encourages her at first. He calls her my brilliant wife. They make plans to buy a bigger house once his promotion comes through. Life seems simple, full of love and promise. When Adora finds out she's pregnant, they're both overjoyed. Tund buys baby clothes before she's even 3 months along. He brags to his friends about how beautiful and smart his wife is. Adora feels lucky. She believes this love will last forever. But after their daughter is born, everything starts to change. Tund begins coming home late, saying he's busy with work. He's tired, distant, and easily annoyed. When Adora tries to talk to him, he snaps. "You don't understand the pressure I'm under," he says. "Just take care of the baby." She tells herself it's just stress. He'll come around. As months pass, Adora puts her startup on hold to focus on raising their child. "You can always go back to work later," Tund tells her. "Right now the baby needs you." She agrees, thinking it's only temporary. But deep inside, she misses her work, the thrill of building something of her own, the confidence she once had. Slowly, she begins to notice little things. Phone calls he takes in another room. The way he quickly hides his screen when she walks in. The smell of perfume that isn't hers on his shirt. She doesn't want to believe it. She tells herself she's imagining things. Her friends notice too. One evening, her closest friend Chica pulls her aside. "Ada, you look tired. Are you okay? Adora forces a smile. I've fine. Just busy with the baby. Chica hesitates, then says softly, you deserve to be happy too, you know. But Adora doesn't want anyone to know what's happening. She keeps pretending. She cooks his favorite meals. She tells herself things will get better if she's patient. She doesn't want her daughter to grow up in a broken home. The years pass, and the silence in their home grows heavier. Tun barely looks at her anymore. He spends more time on his phone than with his family. When she tries to share her feelings, he brushes her off. You're too emotional, he says. Stop making problems out of nothing. At night, when everyone is asleep, Adora lies awake staring at the ceiling. She thinks about the woman she used to be, full of life, ideas, and courage. Now she feels small, trapped, and invisible. The laughter that once filled their home is gone. Sometimes she catches herself remembering the man she fell in love with, the one who held her hand in crowded rooms, who whispered dreams into her ear. But that man feels like a stranger now. The Tun she knows today only cares about power, money, and how things look from the outside. When her parents visit, they notice the tension. Her mother gives her a worried look and says quietly, my daughter, marriage should not break your spirit. Adora just nods, forcing a smile. I'm okay, Mama, she lies. But inside she feels tired. Tired of pretending. Tired of being the only one fighting for their marriage. Still she stays. For her child. For the family she thought she could fix. Every morning, she wakes up before dawn to prepare breakfast. She watches Tun leave for work, kissing their daughter on the head but barely glancing at her. The door closes, and the house goes silent again. Adora stands there for a moment, her hands gripping the kitchen counter. There's an ache in her chest that won't go away. She doesn't cry anymore. The tears stopped coming long ago. Instead, she just feels empty. But somewhere deep inside, beneath the exhaustion and heartbreak, something still flickers, a small, quiet strength that hasn't died yet. She doesn't know it yet, but that strength will soon lead her to take back everything she lost. Adora discovers the truth one quiet evening. Tund is in the shower, and his phone lights up on the bed beside her. She doesn't mean to look, but the message flashes clearly on the screen. Last night was perfect. I miss you already, Red Heart. Her heart stops. The name is unfamiliar, but the words are enough. Her hands begin to shake. She scrolls down and sees more messages, pictures, late-night plans, sweet promises that were never meant for her. She feels cold all over. For a moment she can't breathe. The man she once trusted more than anyone had been lying to her. Not just for days or weeks, but for months. When Tund comes out of the shower, she's still holding the phone. What is this? She asks softly, her voice trembling. He freezes for a second, then snatches the phone from her hand. Why are you touching my phone? He snaps. Tund, who is she? Adora asks again, tears forming in her eyes. He lets out a cold laugh. You're imagining things, Ada. Always jumping to conclusions. That message isn't what you think. She stares at him in disbelief. I saw everything, Tund. The pictures. The messages. He rolls his eyes. You're being dramatic. Maybe if you spent less time spying on me and more time taking care of yourself, I wouldn't have to look elsewhere. His words hit her like a slap. Adora steps back, her throat tight. After everything I gave up for you, this is what I get. Tund smirks. Oh please. You didn't give up anything. You chose this life. Don't blame me for your choices. The argument explodes. His voice grows louder, crueler. He calls her lazy, ungrateful, a burden. Every word breaks a little more of her spirit. When she tries to defend herself, he laughs, calling her too emotional and pathetic. Finally, she goes silent. There's nothing left to say. That night, Adora lies in bed beside her sleeping daughter, staring at the ceiling. The room is dark except for the soft glow of the nightlight. Tund sleeps soundly on the other side, as if nothing happened. She turns her face away and lets silent tears fall. She doesn't scream. She doesn't wake him. She just cries quietly, holding her daughter's small hand. In that moment, something inside her shifts. By morning, her tears are gone. Her face is calm again, but her heart feels different, stronger, colder, clearer. She realizes she can't keep waiting for him to change. She needs to change her own life. After dropping her daughter at school, Adora sits at the dining table with her old laptop. It's slow and dusty, but it still works. She opens it and stares at the blank screen. Her hands hover over the keyboard for a long time. Then she begins typing. She updates her old profile on a freelance website. She lists her skills: digital strategy, business consulting, branding. It feels strange at first, like waking up a part of herself she had buried long ago. She starts small, one client, then another. She works quietly while Tund is at the office, pretending to be the same obedient wife he thinks she is. But at night, after putting her daughter to bed, she opens her laptop again and keeps working. Each new project gives her a little spark of hope. Each payment, no matter how small, reminds her that she still has worth, that she doesn't need Tund to survive. She hides her progress at first. She doesn't want him to know. He still walks around the house like a king, boasting about his money, his career, his control. But Adora knows something he doesn't. The power is slowly shifting. Weeks pass. Her business grows. Clients begin to recommend her to others. Her earnings increase. She starts saving quietly, her own secret account. For the first time in years, she feels like she's breathing again. She still smiles when Tund talks, still cooks his meals, still listens to his endless complaints. But now when he throws cruel words at her, they don't cut as deep, because she knows something he doesn't. She's building her freedom, one step at a time. Adora doesn't know what the future holds yet, but she knows one thing for sure. She will never let anyone make her feel small again. Obedient wife by day, rising entrepreneur by night, that became Adora's new reality. Every morning, she played her role perfectly. She smiled when Tund left for work, packed his lunch, and wished him a good day. Still the quiet, dependent wife who needed him for everything. But as soon as the door closed behind him, Adora opened her laptop and became someone else. Focused, confident, and unstoppable. Her online consultancy was growing fast. At first, it was just a few small clients, but word spread quickly about her skill and professionalism. Companies started reaching out to her for advice on branding, marketing, and online strategy. Adora worked hard, sometimes through the night, replying to emails while her daughter slept beside her. Her eyes often burned from lack of sleep, but she didn't complain. Every hour she worked brought her closer to freedom. Meanwhile, Tund became even more arrogant. He came home later each night, wearing expensive new watches and designer suits. He spent his weekends on business trips, but Adora knew he was lying. He had stopped hiding the cheating. Sometimes, she could smell another woman's perfume on his shirts. He no longer cared to pretend. He would brag loudly about his money, about how lucky Adora was to have him. "Without me, you'd be nothing," he said one evening as they sat at dinner. Adora didn't reply. She had learned that silence was her weapon. Inside, she was calm, because she knew something he didn't. Her business account was growing. She was now earning almost as much as he did. Weeks turned into months. Adora's name began to spread in business circles. She started working with bigger clients, even abroad. She smiled more often, felt more confident, and carried herself differently. She no longer felt afraid, but she kept her success hidden, waiting for the right time. Then one day, she discovered something that broke her last thread of patience. While going through the family finances, Adora noticed a large withdrawal from their joint savings, money they had both saved for their daughter's school and a new home. Curious, she checked the statement and saw the name of a luxury boutique. She knew Tund hadn't bought anything for her recently. A quick search confirmed her suspicion. It was a jewelry store known for selling expensive gifts. Her chest tightened. She didn't cry this time. She just sat there, staring at the screen, feeling a quiet fire build inside her. That night, when Tund came home smelling of alcohol and cologne, Adora waited for him in the living room. "Tund," she said softly, "what happened to the money in our savings?" He frowned. "What money?" "The transfer to Prestige Jewelers," she replied, her voice steady. For a second, he looked startled. Then he laughed. "You've started checking my accounts now? You really are becoming annoying." "It was our savings, Tund," she said, her voice shaking slightly. "You used it without even telling me." He shrugged. "I'm the one who earned most of it anyway. You should be thanking me for letting you stay home all these years." Adora stared at him, unable to believe the man standing in front of her was the same one who once said he loved her. Something inside her broke, not her spirit but her patience. That night, after he fell asleep, Adora sat at her desk, her laptop open. Her hands trembled slightly as she typed, but her mind was clear. She began researching divorce laws, property rights, and custody agreements. She read articles, joined online forums, and took notes. The fear that once controlled her was gone. The next day, she met secretly with her old friend Amaka, a lawyer she hadn't spoken to in years. They met at a quiet cafe. Amaka listened carefully as Adora told her everything. The cheating, the insults, the stolen money. When Adora finished, Amaka leaned forward and said firmly, "You have more power than you think, Ada." Adora blinked. "What do you mean?" Amaka smiled slightly. "You've built your own business. You have your own income. You've gathered proof of his infidelity and financial abuse. You're not trapped anymore. You can leave and win." Those words stayed in Adora's mind for days. You have more power than you think. From that day forward, Adora began preparing quietly. She kept working, earning, saving. She gathered copies of Tun's financial records, screenshots of messages, receipts, everything she would need in court. At home, she played her role perfectly. When Tund insulted her, she stayed silent. When he bragged about his mistress, she smiled faintly and said nothing. He mistook her calmness for weakness. He didn't realize she was building her case, brick by brick. Every insult only made her stronger. Every cruel word reminded her of what she was fighting for: her freedom, her peace, her daughter's future. One night, after finishing another client meeting online, Adora looked at herself in the mirror. Her face looked different now. Not broken, not scared, but determined. For the first time in years, she saw the woman she used to be. Strong, smart, unshakable. Tund still thought he owned her. He still spoke with that same arrogance, throwing money around to impress others. But Adora had learned something powerful. Real strength doesn't shout. It plans. It waits. As the days passed, she began to picture her future without him. She imagined waking up in peace, running her business freely, raising her daughter with joy instead of fear. She imagined sunlight instead of shadows. And one evening, as she tucked her daughter into bed, the little girl looked up at her and whispered, "Mommy, you're smiling again." Adora's eyes filled with quiet tears. She kissed her daughter's forehead and whispered, "Yes, my love. Mommy is going to be okay." That night, she sent one final message to Amaka. "I'm ready to file the papers." As she pressed send, she closed her laptop and took a deep breath. Her heart was steady. The woman who once felt powerless was gone. The new Adora, calm, brave, and quietly unstoppable, had finally taken her place. Back to the courtroom, we return to the opening scene. Tund sits across from Adora, his suit perfectly pressed, his smile full of confidence. He picks up the pen and signs the divorce papers with a smirk, just as before. He leans closer and whispers, "Good luck paying rent without me." Then he chuckles softly, sure that he has won. Adora doesn't react. She sits straight, hands folded in her lap, face calm and unreadable. The courtroom is quiet except for the sound of papers rustling. The judge clears her throat and begins to read the final settlement aloud. This court, after reviewing all evidence presented, the judge begins. Tund leans back in his chair, relaxed. He has no idea what's coming. He looks at Adora with that same proud, mocking expression he always wears when he thinks he's in control. But Adora's lawyer, Amaka, sits beside her with a small, knowing smile. She flips through her files, waiting patiently. The judge continues reading. It has been determined that Mrs. Adora Okafor is the majority shareholder and founder of AO Consulting Limited, a registered and profitable business valued at approximately 3.6 million naira. The courtroom goes completely silent. Tund's smile freezes. His eyes widen slightly. He blinks, as if he didn't hear it right. "What?" he whispers under his breath. The judge repeats it clearly, her voice firm. Mrs. Okafor's business, AO Consulting Limited, has been verified as a legitimate and thriving company. Financial records show continuous profit growth for the past 2 years. A quiet murmur spreads across the courtroom. Reporters and lawyers exchange glances. Tund turns to Adora, confusion and disbelief written all over his face. He stammers, You run a company?" Adora finally looks at him. Her expression is calm, her eyes steady. "Yes," she says simply. He shakes his head. "That's impossible. You don't even work." Amaka speaks up smoothly. She does now. And she's been working longer than you realize, Mr. Okafor. The judge continues, reading from the financial declaration. Furthermore, due to proven evidence of adultery and misuse of joint savings, Mr. Okafor is found responsible for marital misconduct. Tun's face drains of color. He sits up straight now, no longer smiling. Your Honor, that's not. The judge raises a hand. Please do not interrupt. Based on the evidence, messages, financial statements, and witness testimony, this court finds sufficient proof of infidelity. Adora sits silently, her heart steady. Every moment of pain, every insult, every night of tears has led to this one moment of peace. The judge turns another page. In accordance with the law, Mr. Okafor will be required to pay monthly alimony to Mrs. Okafor and child support for their daughter. Now the room is buzzing. Tun's mouth falls open. Wait, what? Pay her? He says loudly, standing up. She's richer than me. This is ridiculous. The judge gives him a sharp look. Sit down, Mr. Okafor. You are being penalized for your actions, not her success. Laughter and murmurs ripple through the crowd. Tun sinks back into his chair, his hands shaking slightly. The smirk that once filled his face is gone. Adora, on the other hand, remains calm, the picture of quiet strength. As the judge continues reading the final terms, Tun keeps glancing at her, his expression full of disbelief and anger. You planned this, he mutters under his breath. Adora looks at him one last time. No, she says softly. You planned it for me. Every cruel word, every lie. I just learned to use the pain wisely. For the first time, Tun has no response. He looks away, his pride crushed. When the judge finishes, she says firmly, this court finds the divorce legally finalized. Mrs. Okafor, congratulations. Mr. Okafor, you are ordered to fulfill all payment obligations within 30 days. The gavel strikes. Court adjourned. The room slowly empties. Lawyers pack their files, voices buzzing with excitement. Amaka pats Adora's hand gently. You did it, she says with a smile. Adora nods, her eyes calm but shining with quiet emotion. We did it. Tun stands up slowly, looking lost. He still can't believe it. Just a few minutes ago, he thought he would walk out the winner. Now everything has turned against him. He watches Adora walk toward the exit, tall, graceful, unbothered. No anger, no revenge in her face, just peace. That's what stings him most. He calls after her, voice trembling slightly. Ada. Wait, we can talk about this. But she doesn't stop. As she reaches the courtroom doors, sunlight streams through the glass, falling across her face. For a moment, she closes her eyes and breathes deeply. She feels free, truly free, for the first time in years. Behind her, Tun stands frozen, surrounded by the same silence he once gave her. Justice has been served, not through shouting or revenge, but through truth, strength, and patience. Adora walks out into the sunlight, leaving behind the man who once tried to break her, and the old version of herself that allowed it. Her quiet victory echoes louder than any of his words ever did. After court, Adora walks out into the sunlight, free. The breeze feels soft against her skin, the kind of warmth she hasn't felt in a long time. For a moment, she just stands there on the courthouse steps, breathing deeply, eyes closed. The sound of her heels against the pavement feels like music. Each step, a reminder that she's finally walking away from everything that once hurt her. Behind her, she hears a voice calling out, Adora. Wait. She turns slowly. It's Tun hurrying down the steps, his face pale and desperate. Gone is the proud, confident man who used to talk down to her. Now he looks small, scared, confused, lost. Ada, please, he says breathlessly. Can we talk? I didn't mean for things to go this way. Adora looks at him quietly. For a second, she sees flashes of the man she once loved, the man who made her laugh, who promised her the world. But that man doesn't exist anymore. Tund, she says softly. You meant every word you said. You meant every choice you made. He shakes his head, trying to smile. I just made mistakes. We can fix things. We were good once, remember? Adora watches him for a moment, calm and steady. You taught me something important, she says. He frowns. What? You taught me what love shouldn't feel like. Tun freezes. The words hit him harder than any anger could. Adora takes one last look at him. Not with hate but with peace. Goodbye, Tund. Then she turns, walks to her car and gets in. She doesn't look back. As she drives away, the sunlight streams through the windshield, lighting up her face. For the first time in years, her smile is real, soft, warm, and free of pain. She turns on the radio and hums along to the song playing, a light feeling growing in her chest. When she arrives at her daughter's school, the little girl runs toward her with open arms. "Mommy," she squeals, hugging her tightly. Adora kneels down, wrapping her in a long embrace. "How was your day, my love?" she asks. "It was good. We learned a new song," her daughter says, grinning. Adora laughs, a pure, joyful sound. "That's wonderful. I can't wait to hear it." As they walk hand in hand to the car, Adora feels something she hasn't felt in years: peace. The kind that comes when you finally choose yourself. Over the next few months, Adora focuses on her business and her healing. AO Consulting continues to grow. She hires more women, especially single mothers, giving them flexible hours and fair pay. She knows how hard it can be to start over, and she wants to make that journey easier for others. Soon, she starts a fund to help women launch their own small businesses. She calls it the New Dawn Project. It becomes her passion, helping women who once felt powerless find their strength again. When people ask her why she started it, she always gives the same answer: "Because someone once told me I couldn't survive without him. I decided to prove that and every woman can." At night, when she sits at her desk, reviewing new applications, she often smiles to herself. She's no longer the scared woman who cried quietly beside her sleeping child. She's no longer waiting for anyone to save her. She has become her own rescue. Sometimes she still sees Tund's name in the news, business updates, photos from events. But she feels nothing anymore. No pain. No anger. Just distance. She never wished him harm. She doesn't want revenge. She's simply done carrying the weight of his choices. One evening, as she's closing her laptop, her daughter comes into the room and sits beside her. "Mommy, are you happy now?" she asks softly. Adora looks at her. This small, bright soul who kept her going through everything. She smiles gently and says, "Yes, my love. I'm finally happy." Her daughter hugs her tightly. "Good. Because you smile more now." Adora laughs and kisses her forehead. "That's because we're free, sweetheart." As the night breeze blows through the open window, Adora gazes out at the city lights. The same city where she once felt trapped, now shining with possibility. She whispers to herself, "I forgive you, Tund. Not for you, but for me." Forgiveness, she has learned, doesn't mean letting someone back in. It means letting their memory go. And with that, she closes her eyes and breathes deeply, ready for whatever comes next. Final scene. Adora sits in the front row at her daughter's piano recital. The hall is filled with proud parents, children, and soft music. Her daughter sits at the piano, her little fingers moving gently across the keys. The sweet notes fill the room, calm, beautiful, full of hope. Adora watches her, smiling. Her eyes shine, not with tears of sadness this time, but with quiet pride. Around her, people clap and whisper, but Adora seems to be in her own world, peaceful, steady, free. As the music plays, her voice begins to narrate softly in the background. "Sometimes," she says, "silence isn't weakness, it's strategy." The camera shows her sitting tall, graceful, her hands folded in her lap. Her face glows with calm strength. Her voice continues, gentle but full of meaning. And revenge doesn't always come with fire. The camera moves slowly to her daughter at the piano. Innocent, focused, lost in her music. "Sometimes," Adora's voice says, "it comes with peace." The music reaches its final notes, soft, warm, and full of life. The audience bursts into applause. Adora stands, clapping proudly, her eyes filled with love. Her daughter looks up, smiling when she sees her mother, and Adora nods, mouthing the words, "I'm so proud of you." The camera lingers on her face. The same woman who once sat silently in a courtroom, broken and afraid. But now she is whole again. No anger, no pain, just quiet victory. As the lights dim, Adora's voice speaks one last time, calm and steady. Peace is the loudest kind of power. The camera slowly pulls back, showing her standing among the other parents, her head held high, her smile soft but strong. The final image freezes on her face, confident, glowing, free. A single line appears on the screen. Sometimes the best revenge is simply becoming happy again. Fade to black. Hi besties. Sparkling heart, thank you so much for watching till the end. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more emotional dramas. See you in the next one. Bye. Waving hands sparkles.